first half was more like a pre-season match, wasn't it, where sort of both teams letting each other have the ball, there wasn't any sort of tackles flying in. Now both teams realise they tried to win it in the 90 minutes, and now we've got another half an hour.
Yeah, two former winners of the FA Cup, nothing separating them in the 90. Southampton 1, Leicester 1.
Well, they've got to carry on, one apiece there, but it's all over at Carrow Road in the FA Cup. Mike Saul.
Norwich City 3, West Bromwich Albion 1. Norwich going through with goals from Magoma, Crescene and Mo Torre. They dominated the first half after West Brom had made a decent start and took the lead just after the half hour through Magoma's header. But Josh Griffiths in the West Brom goal kept his team in the game. He saved 3 times from Matthias Quiscoren and then made a brilliant one-handed save from Jacob Wright at the start of the second half. It allowed West Brom, with the help of Alex Mowat, who'd come on at half-time, to carve out an equaliser through Josh Maja. But then Crescene on as a substitute sent in a beautiful shot, low grass cutter into the corner to make it 2-1 before Mo Torre scored his 5th goal in 135 minutes of football for Norwich City. Norwich 3, West Brom 1.
In the 96th minute, York go 3-0 up at Wealdstone. Rochdale have been held 1-1 at Yeovil. Those are the top 2 in the National League. But let's focus on the FA Cup. Mansfield of League One have won at Burnley 2-1. Norwich have beaten West Brom 3-1. Southampton and Leicester are into extra time after a 1-1 draw. And here at the Etihad, let's round up what happened, because Man City are through. John Dunn.
Manchester City 2, Salford 0 ahead after 6 minutes. Alfie Dorrington turning a Ryan Aït-Nouri cross into his own goal, but the floodgates didn't open as we expected. Salford frustrating City to shots from range, and just before the break, Ben Woodburn had an effort that was brilliantly tipped over the bar by James Trafford. Trafford called into action early in the second half to deny Kelly Namai at the near post. City finally getting the second 9 minutes from time when Mark Gay steered home his first goal for the club from close range. That woke City up. Reinders had an effort just wide and Semenyo hit the post, but it's City that head through to the 5th round. Manchester City 2, Salford 0.
And we've got a couple of tries to tell you about at Murrayfield. Alfie Reynolds.
Well, how about this for a scoreline? 15 minutes gone, Scotland 17, England 0. What a brilliant start for Scotland. Hugh Jones and Jamie Ritchie scoring both of their tries. They have blitzed England here in the opening stages, punishing their ill discipline. Henry Arundel has been yellow carded, and in that period, 2 tries scored. Scotland needed a good start. Boy, have they got it. 15 gone, Scotland 17, England 0.
Well, there's a late equaliser in the National League for Aldershot. At Tamworth, 1-1. Charlie Warren on loan from Bolton. The 22-year-old has got the goal in injury time there. All the full times coming up at around about 5:15. Let's go round the grounds in the Championship for full times to Hillsborough. First of all, Alan Biggs.
Sheffield Wednesday 1, Millwall 2, and Millwall relieved, I reckon, to get the win in the end that maintains their strong promotion push. You might have expected the win to be a formality, but they've been pushed all the way really by the Championship's beleaguered bottom team, who actually took the lead here to everybody's surprise, ending a near 1,000 minute goal drought, only for Millwall to reply with 2 goals in 2 minutes. An own goal, the first one from Cole McGee, trying to clear just in front of the line, followed by a lovely deft finish from Macaulay Langstaff, who'd just come on for Barry Bannon. Bannon subbed on his much acclaimed return to Hillsborough, and when he left the field, his new team were behind. Jamal Lowe popping in the rebound after Millwall keeper Max Crocombe fumbled Charlie McNeil's 20-yard effort. Wednesday deserved it at that point, a really spirited effort, but that first goal in 10 league games finally counts for nothing. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Millwall 2.
And what happened at Deepdale this afternoon, Chris Hull?
Preston 2, Watford 2. Both sides started the day still dreaming of playoff glory and playing in the Premier League next season, with Watford's new 35-year-old manager Ed Still enjoying his first ever Football League game as a boss. Preston deserved their lead on 19. Whiteman delivered an inch-perfect cross to Dobbin, who glances home beautifully. Watford, however, came out in the second half a different side. Skipper Loser on 55 picks out Marmer, who cuts in and fires in brilliantly. Then 2 minutes later, the Hornets sub-bar with the cross, Keremgard with the beautiful flick, but it's gone down as an own goal for O'Fire, but Keremgard deserves all the credit. However, 20 minutes before the end, North End's returning striker Osmic, off the bench, left-footed into the bottom right-hand corner to secure a point. An absolutely absorbing and terrific game, and fitting on the day, celebrating the great Preston plumber Sir Tom Finney. North End 2, Watford 2.
Southend get a fifth against Morecambe 5-1. One of the big boys is going to get knocked out live on TalkSport. Here's your commentary team. FA Cup winner Scott Minto and first Joe Shannon.
Thank you, Adrian, and good evening to you. These two great clubs have lifted the FA Cup 13 times between them, but not since the 1950s. It's been too long. But given Unai Emery's trophy-winning pedigree and Newcastle's League Cup triumph last season, perhaps for one of these teams, this could be the year in the FA Cup. A reminder of the visiting goal for Aston Villa. Bogard, Pau Torres, Lindelof and Digne, Onana, Douglas Luiz and Barkley, with Bailey, Rodgers and Abraham furthest forward. For Newcastle, Ramsdale is in goal, Trippier, Chow, Byrne and Hall, Ramsey and Tonali, Murphy, that's Jacob Murphy, Voltemada and Barnes behind Osula up front. We've had quite the show here at Villa Park in the build-up, lots of noise over the PA system, and now the crowd are getting involved. We've even had plumes of flame and fireworks shooting up into the air. I don't know about you, Scott Minto, but they were keeping me quite warm, actually.
Yeah, today's been a little bit cooler. I don't mind it, though, with that nice blue sky and that big yellow thing in the sky as well. So that's not a problem for me. Let's wrap up warm. If you need a bit of body warmth, mate, we're at Valentine's Day, so we can have a little cuddle.
FA Cup winner Scott Minto is with us tonight on Talk Sport. What a day of football it's been around the grounds, around the country, in the FA Cup and in the EFL. But it is the original, the old and finest domestic cup competition, bar none. The FA Cup, live on Talk Sport. Aston Villa will get us off and underway in the claret and blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks. From right to left in the first half, Newcastle United are in their change kit tonight. Green shirts and socks with white shorts, and Newcastle playing from left to right towards the Holt end this evening. There are more than 6,000 Newcastle fans who've made the trip down from the northeast, certainly making themselves heard. And Aston Vincent Bizzett, he's under pressure straight away from Willa Sula. The ball is headed down from on the halfway line by Malik Chow. Villa then scoop it forward up towards Abraham, who holds it up neatly and goes back to Rodgers. Rodgers quickly looks towards the right side, and Bailey, who gets it from Onana. Chow makes a half tackle. Bailey's continued his run into the area, and he pulls it back, and it's gathered by Ramsdale at the near post. Unai Emery applauds from the near side touchline. A bright start for Aston Villa in the opening minutes. 0-0 on Talk Sport.
Yeah, great start from Villa so far. And the only thing is they were lacking in that first minute was the finish. But that's exactly what these Villa fans want, to see their team on the front foot.
Hall was nearly away down the left-hand side, reached the left corner of the penalty area. Lunging challenge from Onana to stop him, stretching one of those long legs and whipping the ball away from underneath the feet of Lewis Hall. And it's a free kick to Aston Villa, away to our right-hand side as we look at it. What a noise at Villa Park. Two great clubs, two great custodians of the FA Cup, of course, in the past. 7 times Aston Villa have lifted the trophy, 6 times for Newcastle United. But as I say, you have to go back to the 1950s for the last time these two teams won the famous FA Cup. Already today we've had a great shock. Mansfield of League One, winners at Burnley of the Premier League. Mansfield into round 5 for the first time since 1975. We nearly had a shock at the Pirelli Stadium earlier on, but Burton beaten after extra time by West Ham United. I'll wrap up all of the FA Cup 4th round scores from today for you shortly, but of course we are going to be looking ahead to the 8 o'clock kickoff tonight, which is Liverpool against Brighton. Again, that live on Sport. Birmingham Leeds, Oxford Sunderland, Arsenal v Wigan, Talk Sport live and exclusive, and Grimsby against Wolves will be on Talk Sport 2. The ball is back to Bizzett, the goalkeeper again. Just inside his own penalty area. Bizzett looks up and clatters the ball downfield, right through the middle, over the head of Tammy Abraham. It's cleared away by Dan Burn on the retreat for Newcastle United, and then there's a foul by Lamari Bogard, and Newcastle get the throw on the far side. Doubtless buoyed Newcastle by the win at Tottenham in midweek that Scott and I were in North London to see. We'll get a word from Scott in a moment. Nick Voltemada, edge of the penalty area now, tries to poke it through the middle. Aston Villa will smuggle it away. Barkley has possession. Little ball out to the right back area. Bogard again, having to turn back towards his own goal. Finds Victor Lindelof. And now the goalkeeper Bizzett under a bit of pressure again as he scoops the ball upfield. Clever flick by Barkley up towards the tall, rangy Abraham on the halfway line. Back for his second spell at Aston Villa. And now Bailey charging, as is his trademark, from right into the central position onto that favoured left foot. Douglas Luiz about 35 yards from goal. Little flick by Abraham out to the right-hand side. Of course, Douglas Luiz back for a second spell at Aston Villa 2. It's just like the old days, these days, at Villa Park.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm fascinated to see how Tammy Abraham will get on today. First time I've seen him live since being in the Chelsea shirt.
Well, Douglas Luiz has got a yellow card for a rather cynical pullback on Voltemada. He tried to play the ball forward, Douglas Luiz, lost possession, Voltemada counter-attacked, and the Brazilian hauled him to the ground.
Yeah, but he was dilly-dallying with the ball. He wasn't even protecting it. And Nick Voltemada came in, stepped in, went past him, and he just brought him down. So 2 poor bits of play really from Douglas Luiz.
We had a real thriller in the 3rd round for Newcastle United, that 3-3 draw with Bournemouth, which ended with Newcastle winning on penalties. Aaron Ramsdale saved 3 of those. It's his clearance upfield for Newcastle from the free kick, but they can't make anything of it. Now on the counter-attack come Aston Villa. Rodgers over halfway, blocked off by the industrious Trippier. Rodgers has gone down. He's hurt himself in that challenge. Play goes on for Newcastle. Voltemada, middle of the Aston Villa half, working it wide out to the near side. Jacob Murphy with the great cathedral of the Holt End to the right hand side. Ramsey quick feet against his old club. He's given it away. Barkley there to win it back, and it's stabbed forward by Digne up to halfway. Neat layoff by Abraham into the path of Rodgers, tearing over the halfway line. Options to his left. Rodgers clips the ball up the middle, headed away by Chow, drops down to Abraham, still 0-0. Bailey on the edge of the penalty area now with a curling shot, and that's blocked by Lewis Hall. 5 minutes in, bright start to this game. Plenty of energy and endeavour. Just what you'd expect for an FA Cup tie, live on Talk Sport.
Yeah, I mentioned Tammy Abraham. I mean, 2 bits of play there. One, a simple pass, but a good one out to Leon Bailey. But before that, a wonderful first touch to Morgan Rodgers, who thankfully was able to get up after that. That sort of looked like he had an injury there. We want to see him on the ball as much as possible. Just a wonderful, wonderful talent. 2 years he's now been at Aston Villa. It's incredible to think that Middlesbrough only paid £1 million, and he's only there for 6 months. 8 million, rising to what, 16?
Well,
what a bargain!
It's that time of the year as well, Scott, isn't it? Whereas, if you're an England fan, any time a potential starter goes to ground, you worry.
That went to my head as well, and I am an England fan, Joe.
Here is Ramsey on the halfway line. Good angle ball down the right for Kieran Trippier. Trippier right corner of the penalty area, chips in across, high to the edge of the penalty area, flicked on by Voltemada. Loose ball or run to Harvey Barnes, away on the dead ball line. Barnes pulling it back. Ramsey takes a touch, cleared away. Now Trippier might go for goal from distance, tries to play it square, takes a deflection off Tonali, and it dropped kindly for Digne of Aston Villa. Good work by Pau Torres, nifty footwork to shepherd the ball away. Rodgers tracking back, then loses possession, and Newcastle in this change kit of green and white have the ball back. 7 minutes gone. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0.
Yeah, do you know what? We've not had a shot on or off target yet, but this game has been played at real high intensity. Players not been given time at all, and once you get into the midfield, lovely little touches we've seen from the attacking players as well, and then good defending to make sure their goalkeepers don't have to do anything. Enjoyable so far.
And you can see that Newcastle have really benefited confidence-wise from that win at Tottenham, even though there is no Bruno Guimaraes tonight.
I thought they were superb midweek, apart from the sort of a 20-minute spell at the start of the second half, where Spurs really came at them and scored, and at one point it looked like maybe they would go on and get the next goal, but the moment that Newcastle did, it was never in doubt. But that first half display, very, very good, and you wouldn't believe they were so poor at home if you'd have just watched them as a one-off Tuesday.
Villa, who got back to winning ways here as well. Low shot from Barnes is dragged well wide of goal, fully 35 yards out, and he pulled that far beyond Bizzett's right-hand post, and the ironic cheers from the Aston Villa fans at the Holt End away to our right tell you all you need to know. The floodlights are on here, and in situ to watch this fourth round ties the England manager Thomas Tuchel, who's high above us in the director's box at the moment.
I'm not surprised. I just mentioned Morgan Rodgers. Harvey Barnes has now said he's not going to be Scottish. And maybe he's looking at him as well.
Well, there's plenty of options for Thomas Tuchel, and of course every game of the World Cup in the United States, Canada and Mexico will be live this summer on the Talk Sport network. Let's get an update from the Calcutta Cup. Alfie Reynolds.
We're 10 minutes into the second half. It's Scotland 24, England 13. England still down to 14 players. Henry Arundel with the 20-minute red card, which will expire in about 7 minutes' time. George Ford with a penalty in front of the post. It's Scotland 24, England 13.
Here come Newcastle United away on the right-hand side. Header away by Pau Torres. It'll bounce down to Ramsey, who nudges the ball forward all the way through to Bizzett. It trickles, and it's easy for the Aston Villa goalkeeper. Jacob Ramsey up against his old side tonight. Had been at Aston Villa since the age of 6, and we saw him score his first Newcastle goal in North London on Tuesday. Beautifully taken it was as well.
Yeah, it really was. I don't think he wanted to leave Aston Villa. I don't think Aston Villa really wanted him to leave, but finances dictate. It's taken him a bit of time to get used to being a Newcastle player, but I think the last few games he started to show his ability.
Ramsey to Murphy, who hooks the ball high up into the dark sky overhead into the penalty area, nodded down by Barnes, straight to Douglas Luiz, and Aston Villa come away with possession. Bailey tearing forward, his first Villa start in nearly a year. Voltemade, who's playing in the number 10 role, is there to win it back. His socks rolled halfway down his shins. Voltemade, good strength in the middle of the park to hold it up. And actually, Newcastle doing probably the better of the two teams in possession at the moment, as Jacob Murphy is flagged offside, standing almost beneath the looming Holt end, and it's a free kick to Aston Villa. 10 minutes gone, and neither goalkeeper's been seriously tested as yet, Scott Minto, but there is some promise in the start to the game. 0-0.
Yeah, but I always say this, you don't have to have a goal to be watching a good game. And this is a really good game of football with two top teams, watching the tactics and also the skill and the ability of when to play one touch, two touch, when to go short, when to go long, the movement of each set of players. Yes, it's a really, really good start.
Ross Barkley for Aston Villa, picking the pass to Rodgers. Rodgers left edge of the D, wide to Luca Digne, hangs up the cross, up goes the goalkeeper. Ramsdale takes it well, high above his head. Arguably the hero for Newcastle of the third round, saving those penalties in the shootout. 3 penalties he saved. And Newcastle have it on the right with Trippier. Early ball up the middle, headed away by Pau Torres, and Aston Villa have it back.
Luca Digne's got to put a better ball in there. He's got a great left foot, and he's better than that. He just kind of just put it up for Ramsdale catching practice, what he was doing in the warm-up and what you do almost every day in the warm-up. You've got to whip it in a bit more and really test the Newcastle keeper.
Captaining the side tonight, Luca Digne. In the FA Cup today, Burton 0, West Ham 1. Burnley 1, Mansfield 2, in one of the big shocks of this season so far. Manchester City 2, Salford 0, Norwich 3, West Brom 1, and Southampton needing extra time, but they beat Leicester by 2-1. Liverpool against Brighton is at 8 o'clock, and that'll be live here on Talk Sport.
Double whammy for Leicester, of course.
Into the relegation zone in the Championship today. Onana on the halfway line, the tall, strident Onana. And he has possession again. Square on the halfway line to the Swede, Victor Lindelof, and now Pau Torres with the dark hair. Unai Emery quite demonstrative in these early stages, urging his Aston Villa players forward. Lindelof square again to Onana, nearly dallied on the ball, but managed to keep his feet away from Voltemade. Then he knocks it right up the middle, takes a big deflection off Ramsey, drops down to Onana again in the centre circle, and this time he's the picture of calm. Just nudging it across to Pau Torres. Now the diminutive Douglas Luiz accelerates forward. Abraham's layoff towards the onrushing Barkley is good, and Barkley was tripped by Malik Chow, and that's a free kick to Aston Villa. What, 35 yards out here, Scott Minto?
Yeah, Barkley did really well there actually, because Tammy Abraham tried to leave the ball first time layoff. It didn't go exactly where he wanted to go, but because Ross Barkley was ready to move on, he was able to get there just before Chow, and look, yeah, it's a long way out, but it's bang in front of goal, so might even be worth to try and, one of those sort of free kicks where you almost side foot it, get it up and over the wall, it spins, it dips, and even if Aaron Ramsdale sort of saves it, he might not be able to catch it, and therefore you just really try and go on and get on the rebound.
This is at the north stand end of the ground. In the upper tier there are thousands of Newcastle supporters, in addition to the usual allocation on the far side of the field in the Doug Ellis stand. We are almost dead level with this free kick, about 15 rows from the edge of the pitch, chipped in by Douglas Luiz. Abraham takes it down and scores! Right through the middle! Douglas Luiz with a little dink over the top of the Newcastle back line. Abraham took it down on his chest, turned it beyond the goalkeeper. Tammy Abraham is back. The first goal of his second spell at Aston Villa, his first for the club since 2019, and Villa lead in the fourth round of the FA Cup by 1-0.
Well, that is a really fantastically clever free kick. It looked like he was going to be offside. I'll tell you what, there's no VAR in the FA Cup, is there? It looked like he may well have been offside. It's a wonderful little dink. It's a pitching wedge from Douglas Luiz. Fantastic finish from Tammy Abraham. He's chested it, as he's chesting it, he's got his back to goal. And then he's kind of just somehow kicked it into the ground and it's gone over Aaron Ramsdale, but I'd like to see that again, whether he was offside or not.
Well, look, my first thought was that he was off. Looking along the line, no VAR in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0, and he really is back. Tammy Abraham, joined at the end of January from Besiktas, and for Aston Villa now that he's off the mark again in the Villa shirt, it'll feel like he never left. 1-0 to Aston Villa. And Newcastle, I think, will be desperately disappointed not only with the defending of the free kick, but you'd have to say the decision-making in terms of the match officials, because it did look offside against Abraham.
Well, if it was offside, then, you know, the Newcastle defenders can turn around and say, well, we felt he was going offside, so we didn't go with it.
Or they've given it away, Villa, to Osula, who hammers it over the top. That really was a poor strike. Cut right across it, sliced it, right-footed, and the ball ballooned so far wide, in fact, that I think it's gone out of play for an Aston Villa throw in their left-back position.
I can do that.
Even I can have a go. Ballooning it wide.
I'm sure
like
you can
that.
have a shot that ends up going for the throw-in.
Ye of little faith. Abraham can't get on the end. No, he can get on the end of the ball forward to the halfway line, but he's been beaten to it by Malik Chow. Newcastle go long down the middle over the top of Bogard, and well retrieved by Lindelof, backpedaling to find Bailey. Now here come Aston Villa on the counter-attack, leading by a goal to 0 live on TalkSport. Bailey darting infield from the right-hand side. He goes down to the challenge of Lewis Hall, and they've got it back here, Newcastle United, with Byrne, 6'6" Dan Byrne, at the heart of the back line. Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 0, latest from the Calcutta Cup with Alfie Reynolds.
56 minutes gone, Scotland 31, England 13. England's nightmare in Edinburgh continues. Hugh Jones has his second try, and it came from a George Ford charge down as England were going for a drop goal. 56 gone, Scotland 31, England 13.
Still 1-0 to Aston Villa here as Rodgers surges forward over the halfway line. Voltemada tracking him, trying to pull him back. Rodgers finds Barkley. There's a man over. It's Leon Bailey into the area. Cuts it back, Abraham. Good block by Chow. And then they want handball not once, but twice. The Aston Villa supporters hit Chow, then it hit Hall. They work it wide out to the right-hand side, and Bailey again. We're in the 18th minute. Under the floodlights here, Aston Villa have still got possession, and they nearly doubled their lead.
They did. Really good defending, first of all, from Lewis Hall, not allowing Leon Bailey to come onto his left foot.
Luca Digne down the inside left, pulling it back, and Barkley into the ground with the left-footed volley, and it takes one bounce and scoops up into the hands of Ramsdale.
Right, so first of all, with the tack before, well done Lewis Hall, not allowing Leon Bailey to come back onto his left foot, open up the goal. So only would have been on the edge of the 6-yard box. And then really good defending from Malik Chow, perfect body positioning, where Tammy Abraham had a first-time shot. And just there as well, that's half a chance for Ross Barkley. The technique he's got, if he's on his right foot, I think he's at least hitting the target, but he's very good on his left foot as well. No one was around him, had time to take a touch if he wanted to, but just tried to volley it in first time on his left foot. In the end, didn't get proper connection, but it's all Villa at the moment, isn't it?
Could have been 2 for Tammy Abraham, but he has gone down here holding on to his left ankle by the looks of things, and the referee, Chris Kavanagh, is going to summon the Aston Villa physios, and so we have the first delay to play 18 minutes in on a chilly early evening in the second city, and we will stay in the second city tomorrow for another of our 10 live commentaries across the FA Cup weekend. Birmingham City against Leeds United from noon tomorrow. That's followed by Oxford against Sunderland at 2, Arsenal against Wigan at 4:30, Grimsby against Wolves is at 1:30. That's on TalkSport 2. And then Monday night, Macclesfield, conquerors of the former, now deposed holders, Crystal Palace in the third round, take on Brentford in round 4. And at the same time on TalkSport 2, once again we bring you a choice of listening. There's a massive game in the Championship as Coventry take on Middlesbrough. This is FA Cup game day on TalkSport with McDonald's. Order delivery on the McDonald's app from 11 a.m. 18+ fees apply to delivery orders, subject to availability. Price may vary. Abraham jogs out towards the near side and he gets a hearty round of applause from the Aston Villa fans around us in the lower tier of the Trinity Road side of the ground.
Was a great finish, wasn't it? The way he just contorted his body to chest the ball with his back to goal, and then the way he kind of hit it into the ground and went over Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, he's such a cool, calm character. Sometimes you feel like you need to get a rocket up his backside, but that was a wonderful finish.
Good ball by Voltemada, out to the right, gets it back from Trippier, inside right channel, right along the line of the 18-yard box, plays it backwards to Jacob Murphy. Now Sandro Tonali in the middle of midfield for Newcastle. Wide right to Trippier again as Newcastle seek an equaliser. Murphy's pull back, bounced off Douglas Luiz. Then it deflects into the path of Trippier again. Poor touch by Luca Digne. Tracking back is Rodgers, who keeps the ball in play right on his own dead ball line, and it's hoisted clear by Pau Torres over halfway. Newcastle have it back, and Abraham is back on the field now for Aston Villa, and whatever the issue was, he seems to have got over it rather quickly. Trippier for Newcastle. Back to Chow with the green boots on to match the green shirt and socks. Just a third Premier League away win of the season for Newcastle at Tottenham in the week. Forward by Barnes, reverse ball up the inside left. Good stretch by Lindelof to turn it away. And if he hadn't done, Asula could have been in that inside forward position. Out of play it goes for a Newcastle throw, and back they go to the halfway line. Well, Newcastle building here with Eddie Howe watching on, arms folded on the near side touchline as they look for that equalising goal. A long way to go in the cup tie. Of course, as we've seen today in the fourth round, a couple of ties went to extra time at Burton Albion and at Southampton as well. Good flick Voltemada back to Harvey Barnes, who accelerates infield from the left, rolls it wide to Kieran Trippier. First time pass on to Murphy. Murphy down by the dead ball line, back to Trippier. First time right-footed cross, headed away, comes out to Lewis Hall, juggles the ball, darts forward, goes down just inside the penalty area. Newcastle fans want a spot kick. Referee says no, and then Abraham is taken out midway inside his own half. That free kick will go Aston Villa's way, Scott Minter.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're watching a really good game of football between two teams who want to go at it. Obviously, Aston Villa have got the great start so far. Newcastle defence will say, hold on a minute, we played him offside. It should have been offside. And I'm sure I'll be having a conversation with a certain Adrian Barrow about VAR at half-time.
Well, it was offside at first glance. And we had a good couple of replays of it on the monitors in our commentary position here, but you could even see in real time we were almost level with the free kick. It did feel like Abraham had pulled half a yard ahead of the last Newcastle defender.
I've just texted him, he's texted me back, he said he's done his shift, he's on his way home. I'll be speaking to Hugh at half-time. Half day for 8.
Oh, he'll be back, don't you worry about that. Back it goes to Bizzett for Aston Villa, the goalkeeper, deputising for Martinez tonight. Bizzett floats the ball upfield, not a particularly good ball, headed away by Chow for Newcastle to the left-back position of Aston Villa, where it's retrieved by Douglas Luiz, and now the leggy Abraham playing it backwards to Digne. In the Championship today, Derby 2, Swansea 0, Derby into the playoffs, Portsmouth 0, Sheffield United 1, Preston 2, Watford 2, QPR 1, Blackburn 3, and Sheffield United 1, Millwall 2. Forward by Rodgers, up the middle for Aston Villa. Chasing was Barkley, well retrieved by Tonali. Spotted that run of Barkley. He reads the game so elegantly, Sandro Tonali.
Do you know what? That's the ugly side of the game that people don't see, and a lot of midfielders don't want to do. Ross Barkley's running in, and it was a wonderful ball, and he would have been in. It would have been a one-on-one. But Tonali went with him, said, nah, get out the way. Just brilliant midfield play, defensive midfield play.
Yes, it was very diligent from Tonali, coming across on the cover like that while everybody else had stopped. Newcastle have got a throw. Kieran Trippier will take it. Little pat on the back for Unai Emery. Trippier wearing the captain's armband tonight in place of Bruno Guimaraes. The Aston Villa bench is very strong, I must say. Martinez, Konsa, Mings, Martson, Sancho, Buendia, Watkins, Garcia and the youngster Kone. The Newcastle bench, 2 goalkeepers, Pope and Ruddy. then Willock, Elanga, Gordon, Alex Murphy, and youngsters Shahar, Neve and Park Sung-soo.
Do you know what? Both benches are able to come off and be that plan B, aren't they?
Yeah.
Be the finisher, whatever the manager wants to do. Obviously at the moment, Eddie Howe won't be thinking about the bench right now, but we'll certainly be thinking, let's see how it goes, and if at 60, 70 minutes it's the same scoreline, then I do have options.
Fizzed forward by Bizzett upfield through the evening sky, and now Rodgers on the turn is caught by Chow, and that's one foul too many, and Chow is now yellow carded by the referee. You could see that coming from a mile off. The second he hauled back Rodgers, had to be a booking, I think.
Do you know what? It's just brilliant play from Morgan Rodgers. He's brought the ball down on his chest. He's not got a right back, he's got a centre half up against him, really trying to out-muscle him. He's held him off, he's just rolled him, and then in the end Malik Chow's had to pull him down, not only give a foul but a yellow card as well. Just brilliant play from Rodgers, and now Chow has to be careful for the rest of the game.
Already met twice this season, these two teams, goalless at Villa Park early on in the campaign, and Villa won at Newcastle on the 25th of January, just a few weeks ago. Douglas Luiz floats the free kick out to the right wing position, and now Leon Bailey taking on Lewis Hall. Bailey twisting one way and then the other, trying to squeeze between two green shirts. No way through beyond the combination of Hall and Barnes, who nudges the ball forward really poorly with the outside of his foot. That was never going to reach Osula. Way under hit. Good covering by Bogard to send it back to the goalkeeper. Had a lot of late runners into the penalty area from deep for that set piece, Aston Villa. Cleared upfield by Bizzett again. Towering header away by Chow, this time above Morgan Rodgers. The ball drops for Bailey, who races forward infield from the right-hand side. Bailey middle of the Newcastle half, square to Douglas Luiz. Out on the near side, the left is Luca Digne. Digne delivers. Bailey's header is wide. Who would have thought a flying header from Leon Bailey?
That big centre forward, Leon Bailey. It was a much better ball in. Said about, 10 minutes ago. Luca Digne put in the ball that was just catching practice for Aaron Ramsdale. I think it was in his head, because it was a bit of a careful one, but he certainly made sure, didn't put as much whip on it. He certainly made sure that Ramsdale couldn't come out and catch it. But what it did mean that Leon Bailey was on about the penalty spot. He was almost having to, generate the pace, and he couldn't quite get pace and direction at the same time. But it's good play from Villa.
Nearly half an hour gone. Still 1-0 to Aston Villa. Tammy Abraham with the goal. Morgan Rodgers with the interception for Villa to play it back to Bizzett again, and the goalkeeper's left-footed clearance is high upfield from the Dutchman. It'll bounce down on the halfway line, retrieved by Douglas Luiz. Ever tenacious in the middle of midfield, and he rolls away from the much taller Osula to knock it square to the defender Victor Lindelof. 8 o'clock tonight, Liverpool against Brighton in the fourth round of the FA Cup. That is live on Talk Sport, and among our commentaries tomorrow we'll bring you Birmingham City against Leeds United. Darting forward is Jacob Ramsey to the edge of the penalty area now. Ramsey went down under the challenge of two Aston Villa players, looks towards the referee. Chris Kavanagh says no penalty.
Yeah, but then he gets up and just carries on as if he kind of knows, not that he dived, but he wasn't going to get a penalty there. And that's what they need to do, because Newcastle, they're working hard, they're battling well, but they're not able to get the wide players involved. Nick Voltemada is running around, but he's not able to show his class. We've hardly seen any service up to Osula as well. So as much as Newcastle are giving it everything, need to find a way to isolate the wingers against the fullbacks, or get the ball into Nick Voltemada when he's in a really dangerous position.
Trippier out on the near side to right for Newcastle, live with the edge of the 18-yard area, back to Sandro Tonali. That all came, by the way, Newcastle winning it back after a crunching tackle against his old club by Ramsey, who certainly looks up for the fight tonight. Ramsey, whose name was warmly applauded by the Villa fans when it was read over the PA before the game started, which was good to hear. He was a great servant to Aston Villa in his time at the club.
Yeah, he was almost sacrificed, wasn't he, for financial reasons.
Indeed.
He didn't want to go, Villa didn't want him to go, but needs must. Shame.
Given away by Chow. Ross Barkley in the centre circle now has got Abraham ahead of him. It's 2 against 4, but Villa are getting players forward now with regularity. Abraham from the corner of the penalty area, deflection on the cross, And it's gathered by Ramsdale.
He thought about that, Ross Barkley, didn't he? 40, 50 yards out, because Aaron Ramsdale was trying to race back into his box and get close to where his line is, or at least the 6-yard box. He looked up. Perhaps his body position wasn't quite as right, because technically he can definitely do that. And in the end, he played it to Tammy Abraham, and the ball fell into Ramsdale's arms.
Aston Villa players warming up in front of us here. Some of the substitutes. Here is Chow, just over the halfway line, with a bandage on his right wrist. They do have a number of injury problems at the moment, Newcastle United. Wissa not in the squad tonight. We'll endeavour to find the exact reason for that. Hall with a clever dink over the top. Harvey Barnes is in behind, into the area now, and again he goes to ground as Bogard came across. And again Chris Kavanagh satisfied that the challenge was a good one, says goal kick. Eddie Howe is in deep conversation with the fourth official.
Yeah, it's that high line of Villa, isn't it? And there's no pressure on the ball, so it's a little dink over the top. And Harvey Barnes, he gets in behind. Well, I don't think that's a foul there.
Bogard,
he does get caught up with Harvey Barnes, and he doesn't touch the ball. But it's one of those where there's contact. I think the referee's at a different angle. He'll turn around and say, but he's brought him down.
all nearly in trouble as he nudges the ball back to Ramsdale. All in pink tonight, the Newcastle goalkeeper. Newcastle playing from left to right in the first half towards the Holt end. They are 1-0 down at Aston Villa in the fourth round of the FA Cup, live here on Talk Sport.
Harvey Barnes wasn't happy with it, was he?
No, he wasn't at all. Screaming at the referee, and Eddie Howe, as I say, was having a word with the fourth official to make his point. It's a different complexion and feel to games without VAR, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, look, again, I think, and rightly so, there's a high bar now to VAR, so I don't think the referee would have been called over. There's no way you can say that was a clear and obvious error, but there was definitely contact there, and he definitely didn't touch the ball. The question is, was there enough contact to justify him going down, and therefore it's a foul and a penalty? And
on that basis, you feel as though the referee probably made the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, look, you go with the referee's call. He could have gone the other way. No doubt about it. I'm a defender. I'm going to turn around and say, of course, there's a bit of contact. But it doesn't mean to say that he could have gone down like he did. But got to be careful, Bogard, for sure. And that's what I'm talking about, the one-on-one situations. You know, Bogard, if Harvey Barnes is running in at him, and Jacob Murphy as well at Lucadinho, he's got him all day long on toast if he has a sprint, but they haven't been able to isolate them.
That's the voice of former FA Cup winner Scott Minto, victorious with Chelsea in the 90s.
And someone who's come up against quick wingers. Still having nightmares.
Yeah, you're too harsh on yourself, Scott, again. Not for the first time. Tonali's going to let the ball drift out of play here for a Newcastle throw right in front of the Newcastle dugout. Eddie Howe cajoling his players. Chow plays a square ball to the giant Byrne, who takes two big strides and it's over the halfway line, and he's raced forward down the inside left here, Byrne, but he can't get to the reverse ball played downfield by Barnes. It is out of play for another Newcastle United throw. Ironic cheers from the vast numbers of travelling supporters every time they get a decision now. Chow just shy of the lip of the centre circle. It's an interesting game because Newcastle have had most of the possession, yet Aston Villa, who played largely as a counter-attacking team at home, are the side with the lead 33 minutes in. Header away by Rodgers for Aston Villa. Oh, and he takes the ball down on his right foot beautifully. Sticks to his feet like glue there, Rodgers, albeit he is in a tight area. Plays it back to Torres, and then between Rodgers and Digne, Aston Villa very calmly and very elegantly look to play the ball out of the defensive third. They've got to be careful not to overplay. Pau Torres has chipped it forward and given it away. Barnes now, forward into the penalty area, gets the return ball. Harvey Barnes has lashed it into the side netting. What a big chance that was for Newcastle United.
Well, it's a great chance, isn't it? And you're right, I mean, they're passing it nicely, even though they're in their own box. The moment they try to go long, Newcastle are on it. Great little play, and look, the angle's very, very tight. And Harvey Barnes has to find a way to go for the far post, not the near post. And then if Beazle gets a touch on it, it goes towards goal, or certainly into the goal area. By shooting on the first post side, And I mean, not even getting on target, it's a goal kick, but even if it had saved it, it'd be pushing it back away from goal. Always aim for the far post, and then if you can't hold it properly, someone might be able to come in and just have a simple tap in.
A very impressive 12 goals for the season so far for Harvey Barnes. As Byrne with a slightly under-hit back pass to Ramsdale.
He'd have loved to score that in front of Tommy Tuchel, wouldn't he?
Jacob Murphy coming back from an offside position. Let Aston Villa have a free kick. Yes, he's here tonight, Thomas Tuchel, on FA Cup 4th round Saturday. Burton 0, West Ham United 1. Burnley 1, Mansfield 2. Well done to Nigel Clough's Mansfield. That's a terrific result for them away at Burnley. And into the 5th round for the first time since the mid-70s. Manchester City beat Salford 2-0. Norwich 3, West Brom 1. And Southampton edged out Leicester by 2-1. Bailey with that turn infield from the right-hand side, playing it through the middle towards Abraham. It was way overhit from Bailey, and it's just trickled through to Aaron Ramsdale. Always looks sprightly, Bailey, when he's running with the ball, but that final product, that final pass, was certainly lacking there.
Yeah, talk about Morgan Rogers, and it's almost like he's their standout player, and the likes of Buendia and Bailey and Jadon Sancho, they're not quite at the same level. They're good players, very technical, skillful players, but Morgan Rogers is the one who's effective. He's skillful and technical, but effective as well. And we saw him almost just toying with Newcastle players in his own box. I remember a training session, it was disguised running, where you'd have like 11v11 or 10v10, 8v8, whatever, but you could only tackle the player you've been assigned to. Let me tell you, I would not want to be assigned to Morgan Rogers. It'd be almost impossible getting the ball off him.
There's a great confidence about Rogers, isn't there, as the ball goes out of play for an Aston Villa throw in the left-back position. Strides around Villa Park like he commands the field of play, and he almost makes it look effortless at times, Morgan Rogers.
You know what, the real top players, they play at their pace. It looks like they're actually not going as fast as they are, and yet everything's almost in slow motion. And he's getting towards that kind of status where, he's not just an England international. At this moment in time, he probably is a starter in the first game of the World Cup, and if he has a great World Cup, then he could be an absolute superstar.
Rogers midway inside his own half the field, turning away from the challenge of Chow, and leaves Baltimore for dead as well. Lovely footwork from Rogers, a weaving run to carry it forward over the halfway line. Douglas Luiz has got Luca Digne wide left, 1-0 to Aston Villa on TalkSport. Digne pulling it backwards to Douglas Luiz. He's a long way out, but he'll go for goal, and it whistles just a yard or so over the top.
It's a great strike, isn't it? It's a wonderful strike, and I think it shows the confidence that Villa and Douglas Luiz has got right now. I wouldn't say they're dominating Newcastle by any stretch of the imagination, but we've got two teams that just look really good on the ball, and Douglas Luiz is 25 yards out, left of goal, but he's thinking, I'm going to have a pot there, and it wasn't a million miles away.
Last scored when playing for Aston Villa in 2024, in fact, almost exactly 2 years ago, when he scored twice for Aston Villa against Nottingham Forest. Header on the halfway line by Hall and flicked forward by Jacob Ramsey into the path of Asula trying to nudge it to his right, and Voltemade, who keeps his footing, chips the ball down the right-hand side to the opposite wing. Here comes Kieran Trippier, and he collides in a 50-50 challenge with the retreating Rogers again, and the deflection was last off Trippier. That'll be a goal kick to Aston Villa at the Holte End.
Hold a minute, Joe. I just need to count how many Morgan Rogers are actually out there, because he's right up, brilliant going forward. He's playing as a left back. I'm sure I've seen him in that sort of centre back stroke DM role. Is that allowed?
It is when you're that good. He covers all angles, does Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, I can confirm there is only one.
But it feels like he's everywhere.
Absolutely.
Now he's on the halfway line as Aston Villa shepherd the ball forward along the left-hand touchline, near side of the field, and that's a throw. Unai Emery pacing up and down inside the technical area here. Rogers holds up the play ahead of Byrne. Lay off a little short towards Murphy, though. Byrne wins it back for Newcastle in the middle of midfield. Voltemade, who is celebrating his birthday today, out to the left, and Lewis Hall. Now Barnes shuffling in field, finds Sandro Tonali. Tonali on the halfway line, square to Malik Chow. Newcastle go crossfield. Chow with a raking ball out to the left. And Hall miscontrols it through his legs.
Oh, it's a shame, because that was, and we were right behind that, weren't we, that diagonal. A 50-yard ping from the almost inside right-back position to Lewis Hall at left-back, left wing. And he's better than that. And that would have been a dangerous situation that he could have maybe whipped a really good cross in or played it into Nick Voltemada on the edge of the box, so it's a shame.
Well, Lewis Hall will be being watched in earnest by Thomas Tuchel tonight, no question about that. There is a left-back spot up for grabs at the World Cup for England.
I like him a lot. I think he's really come on. Another player that's left Chelsea and is doing well.
Headed down by Chow, no offside against Osula, turning it wide right to Murphy. Murphy with a poor cross, cleared away easily at the near post. Dropped out to Trippier. Newcastle seeking an equaliser with 5 minutes of the first half to go. On Talk Sport, Aston Villa leading 1-0. Murphy back to Tonali, green shirt hanging untucked. Tonali looks to drift towards the corner of the penalty area, plays it wide to Chow instead. Now it's with Trippier again. Trippier forward through a little gap to find Ramsey against his old team, back to goal. Ramsey now faces the Holt end as he nudges it square to Voltemada. Voltemada held up by Onana. Aston Villa with everybody in claret and blue back behind the ball. One of them, Digne, makes a lunging late challenge on Murphy. Right in front of the assistant referee. Luca Digne, the Aston Villa captain, is going to get a yellow card.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about Newcastle have to find a way to get the ball out wide, because these full-backs, especially Luca Digne, he's got great left foot and he's very good, he's got football intelligence, but in terms of the athletic side of it, nowhere near Jacob Murphy and what he can offer, and that's a naughty challenge, that is. It's not a red, it's a bad foul, it's a definite yellow, and now he's got to be careful.
Liverpool against Brighton tonight at 8 o'clock on Talk Sport, followed by the Sports Bar Weekender with Adam Cattrall and Jermaine Pennant. 03717 223344 to have your say on the afternoon and evening's football. And Murphy having to reorganise his pretty small shin pad and green socks.
Yeah. Wear a bigger shin pad.
They
see that stud mark down his side of his shin.
They're in vogue, small shin pads these days, aren't they? But it really was a nasty lunge by Digne.
He's lucky in a way. If it had been just a few inches higher, then it could easily have been seen as a red. You know, really dangerous tackle. It was bordering on that. I do think the yellow's the right decision, and he's definitely caught Murphy. Murphy's got to make sure that he keeps on asking for the ball all the time and saying to Kieran Trippier, don't come near me, just give me the ball and create space for me. Let me have a one-on-one. He's on a yellow card.
Trippier standing over the free kick, plenty forward in the green and white of Newcastle United. Trippier to drive it in right-footed, headed down, out comes Bizzard, able to get there first ahead of Malik Chow. Voltemada with the first contact. Oh, and then the goalkeeper bobbles the ball on the edge of his own penalty area in front of Asula. And I think he ran into Lindelof there, the goalkeeper, but he has actually got a free kick out of it.
Yeah, no, I think he ran into Asula, and Asula's put his hand on his chest and just caught him with the ball, and it's fallen down. But yeah, that's half an opportunity, half a chance there.
Aston Villa have been quite passive tonight, despite leading by a 0-0, and the atmosphere hasn't been quite as raucous as you would have hoped for. Abraham, the goal scorer, lofty layoff out to the right wing position, brought down by Bailey, who nudges it backwards to Bogard. One or two gaps opening up in the stands as we await half time here. Little flick by Bailey out to the right, and Bogard, the fullback, reverse ball down the inside right. Bailey's after it, nudges it against the shins of Byrne and wins Aston Villa a corner. Now that was well worked by Aston Villa.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what they want to try and do if they can. Really try to expose Dan Byrne and that sort of left-hand side slot if Lewis Hall has pushed on. And we saw that with Spurs, didn't we, in midweek when he was playing left-back initially. And that ball over the top, very dangerous, but to be fair to Dan Byrne, he positioned himself really well. Didn't make a tackle, but did have to give away the corner.
Leon Bailey is going to take it. It'll be left-footed and in-swinging. Everybody back here for Newcastle United at the north stand end of the ground. 1-0 to Aston Villa. Into the near post it goes, towards Barkley, smuggled away by Ramsey, comes back to Bailey to whip it in low, only away as far as Onana, back to goal, nudges it to Digne, and now Douglas Luiz floats it over the top again. Abraham is in again, and he tried to turn it across the face of goal. Dan Bird tucks it behind for a corner. The Newcastle fans are screaming at the assistant referee. They felt it should have been offside.
Well, again, they've got to be careful, because I tell you what, they're very, very close. And when you don't have VAR, you can't rely on the officials. That was a tight one.
20 seconds of normal time to go at the end of the first half. Into added time very shortly here on Talk Sports. 1-0 to Aston Villa. Here's Bailey with a short corner along the dead ball line. Pau Torres wriggling away from his man, fizzing it into the near post. Barkley was there and he's blocked off, and then the loose ball trickles towards that dead ball line again. Bailey whacks it against the legs of Hall. It's another new Aston Villa corner as we go into 1 minute of added time.
Yeah, if the referee's assistant looks like he's not putting his flag up, then you quite simply just have to drop off. You can't be playing offside. You can't rely on VAR, because there is no VAR. And the last thing Newcastle we wanted to concede in the second goal, and they were slightly offside, but it's not going to be given.
Very different dynamic to the game as Digne delivers left-footed, headed away at the near post by Ramsey, further clear by Harvey Barnes. Bailey fizzes the ball to the edge of the box, only as far as Trippier, and suddenly Newcastle are clear on the counter, and Bissett is miles out. He's lunged in on Jacob Murphy, and he's off. What is the goalkeeper thinking there? He is miles off his line, only a few yards away from the centre circle as Newcastle United broke upfield, and Bissett with an utterly reckless lunge on Jacob Murphy. He sides him down, and there can be no question of the decision of the referee. A straight red card given in an instant, and now this cup tie takes on an entirely new dynamic. Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil, but they are deservedly down to 10 men. That is a moment of madness from Bissett.
Joe, what's he thinking? I mean, that's like a goalkeeper. I haven't had anything to do. I want to get involved in this game somehow. But you're not playing up in the garden or down the local rec. He's come in, he's come to almost where the centre circle is. Ramsey's gone past him, and he's just absolutely caned him down, chopped him down, thigh high. He's got no complaints whatsoever. And fair play to Murphy for actually making sure that he's got the ball past him, because that feels like he's got nothing left to do. But what are you doing there in the first place?
Well, there is a twist in the cup tie. Aston Villa are going to play the entirety of the second half and the rest of the first period here with only 10 men. And who is going to be sacrificed for the man that they always call the world's number one here at Aston Villa, Emi Martinez. Bissett is off and is watching a replay of the tackle, I think, on the near side touchline, gets a pat on the back from one of the coaches and walks off down the near side of the field, heading for the tunnel. He's being applauded by the Aston Villa fans. He shouldn't be being applauded.
He shouldn't be watching it either. But that's an absolute horror show. I mean, what were you thinking? That is a goalkeeper. We always say that the top goalkeepers, they do nothing for 20 minutes and then they put themselves and make a great save or do something special. Well, that is someone who's done nothing for 20 minutes and just thinking, I want to get involved in this game. What are you doing?
So in first half stoppage time, Leon Bailey is the man sacrificed, and Aston Villa will have to change shape potentially here. On comes Emi Martinez, who'll no doubt get a big cheer as he jogs towards the Holt end. Boos from the Newcastle United supporters. So the World Cup winning Argentine is on in a situation that he wouldn't have expected, with 3.5 minutes now into first half added time on Talk Sport. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, but Villa are going to play the rest of the game with only 10 men. Sandro Tonali, just inside the Aston Villa half, is going to flight the free kick forward. Everybody back for Aston Villa. The 10 now. as Tonali whips the ball to the left-hand side. Harvey Barnes attacking Barkley, and Barkley stops him in his tracks. Barnes goes to ground, and the referee blows for half-time. And the Newcastle players march with an irritated look towards referee Chris Kavanagh. They're surrounding the referee, the green-shirted Newcastle players here. Eddie Howe and his assistant Jason Tyndall not happy either. But what is absolutely certain is that while Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil at half-time, the dynamic of this game has completely changed. After Tammy Abraham gave Aston Villa the early lead following Douglas Luiz's free kick, they'd managed the game pretty well, right up until first half stoppage time, when Bizzett charged off his line, miles out of his goal, the goalkeeper, made an utterly idiotic challenge to side down Jacob Murphy, and was subsequently given a straight red card. So the complexion has changed at Villa Park, but it's the 10 men of Aston Villa who lead Newcastle United by a goal to nil.
Absolutely fantastic. That is what football is all about for me. Okay, yeah, drama, entertainment, red cards, penalty shouts. We'll even have a discussion as to whether VAR should be in football after that first half, because it had just about everything. The Villa fans will be terribly pleased with the fact that the officials have given just about everything in their way except for that red card. That Chris Kavanagh couldn't have done anything else than send Marco Bizzo off. We'll get the opinions of Scott Minto in a few moments' time. Hello, an unfamiliar voice compared to Adrian Durham. I'm Hugh Wissencroft at Anfield. We've got Liverpool against Brighton coming up on TalkSport at the end of events at Villa Park. Who knows when that will be, with Villa having to play the rest of the game, albeit a goal up but down to 10 men. We'll be back very, very shortly. You're listening to FA Cup Game Day on TalkSport with McDonald's. Order delivery on the McDonald's app from 11 a.m. It's 18 plus. Fees apply to delivery orders, subject to availability, and prices may vary. Let's head up to Murrayfield to find out exactly what has happened in the end of Scotland against England in the Calcutta Cup. TalkSport's Alfie Reynolds.
Where it finished, Scotland 31, England 20. England came to Edinburgh on a 12-game winning streak, but at a venue where they haven't won since 2020. The nightmares of matches and present came hurtling back to haunt them. Defence was poor and absent, and Scotland were brilliant and ruthless in capitalising on the England game. Henry Arundel was shown 2 first-half yellow cards either side of scoring during his 30-minute shot, which 20 of those were a red card. Scott scored 3 tries, Hugh twice, one of when George Ford had a drop goal that was charged down the length of the pitch. Jamie Ritchie also went over, and Ben White scored when Kenge caught the line. England's dreams of a title hang by a thread. Grand aspirations are up in smoke, and Scotland, so poor last week in defeat to Italy, are up and running. They battered England here, who scored a late consolation try through Ben Earl. It's Scotland that win the Calcutta Cup. The full-time score, Scotland 31, England 20.
England's torrid record away at Scotland in the Six Nations continues. That will be celebrated widely in Paris, I am sure. And also a little bit earlier on, Ireland bounced back from their defeat in Paris, beating Italy 20 points to 13. Pretty unconvincing once again, but they got the job done in the end. England back to the drawing board. Remember, they go to face France away from home on the final weekend of the Six Nations. We could be set for a grandstand finish. Let's go back to Villa Park, though. Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto, who's been watching the first half of Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. And on the stroke of half-time, what on earth was going through the mind of Marco Bizzo in the Aston Villa goal, Scott?
Mate, I have no idea. I've no idea. And you know, it's almost like you want to ask him that question. That's the first thing. Can we speak to him post-match, please? What were you thinking? Because look, it's not as if Newcastle were playing badly. They weren't. And they were really trying to get at Aston Villa. But Aston Villa were pretty much in control of the game, especially being 1-0 up. So why would you come out and race like that? There's absolutely no need to do that. And I said it in commentary, I just feel like it was almost like you've got a 10-year-old in goal who's just bored.
Yeah.
And like, right, I haven't done anything for 20 minutes. I want to get involved in this game. And boy, has he got involved in this game. And Newcastle must be thinking, if we stretch the game, if we get them running, even if the last 20 minutes, We play at high intensity, make a few substitutions as well, just really get at them, tire them out. There's no reason why we can't score the equaliser and maybe even get the winner within 90 minutes, if not extra time.
The whole thing was schoolboy, Scott, to be perfectly honest with you. When you look at Leon Bailey, who tried a kind of half-volleyed diagonal pass when 5 or 6 Newcastle players were bearing down on him on the break, it went straight to a Newcastle foot, and they laid it straight to Murphy, who was running straight at the goalkeeper. Just all of it really, really amateurish from Aston Villa, and it was really surprising in the end. And for any Villa fans who were thinking that there was an Aston Villa player who was covering in behind Bizzo, the reality of the situation is the tackle was incredibly high, contact was made on the knee, the ball had already been long gone, it was cynical. Everything about that challenge was what we don't want to see. Thankfully Murphy is okay, and it was a nailed on red card, and it was really something that spoiled the game for Aston Villa because everything had been going their way until then. Tammy Abraham got the goal on 14 minutes. VAR not involved in the game. He looked offside. He scored. I don't know if the world's going to end over it. The Premier League might be desperate for the FA Cup to get VAR back in as soon as possible because it might be making them look bad. Because, listen, I don't mind it, to be perfectly honest. A lot of these decisions haven't gone the way of Newcastle United in that first half, but the game is entertaining. It's exactly what we want.
Do you know what, Hugh, right? So I've always been for VAR. I don't mind if there's no VAR, I don't, right? But I've been for it, and less is more, have a very high bar and only clear and obvious errors. But if this game ends 1-0 and Newcastle are knocked out of the FA Cup because of a bad linesman's decision, then the Newcastle fans can turn around and say, what is going on here? So this is exactly why you need VAR, for these type of crucial moments. Less is more, don't get involved too much. Luca Digne on another day could have been perhaps given a red card. I personally think a yellow was fair enough, but you know, I've had a few people already telling me that they thought it was a red, but it wasn't a clear and obvious. But you know, the point is that for something that is clear and obvious, that's factual. You know, if Newcastle lose because of this particular goal, then they will be absolutely devastated and rightfully angry.
I tell you, the Luca Digne challenge, if that was in the Premier League, I think he might have got his marching orders. And when you look at the challenge that Bogard made on Harvey Barnes, a huge penalty shout for Newcastle United, I think in the Premier League it certainly would have been looked at. I think the referee would have been called to the screen. I think he probably gets a penalty for that as well. Bogard dangles a leg, doesn't make contact with the ball, ends up taking Barnes down, could easily be given as a penalty as well. But I've got to be honest, Scott, I'll take you way back, and some of you weren't around at the time, but I remember Paul Scholes scoring a goal against Porto. That was about 3 yards onside. They got given offside. We all know how that ended, with Jose Mourinho running down the touchline as Porto got a winner. They went on to win the Champions League. The world didn't end. But he became one of the best managers in the game.
You're not bitter about it, Hugh, no?
No, what I'm saying is, it happens in football. It has happened in football, right?
I know, but it doesn't make it right. For something like that, it doesn't make it right, and these are big decisions. We're talking about Premier League now, and I think it's right for the EFL because, you know, that's a multi-million-pound industry. The Premier League is a multi-billion-pound industry, and what I don't want is for any kind of lawsuits or anything. And maybe we're going off on a tangent here, but my point is, for something like this, and look, I don't mind being in the minority about it. I don't even mind being in the minority about if a venue in an FA Cup game can hold VAR and another one can't in the same round, well, that one has it and that one doesn't. I don't mind that at all. But
I'm for a level playing field across every single...
It's a level playing field for the two teams playing against each other. So
I know that,
so that's the level playing field.
But if the same decision, if the Tammy Abraham goal happens at a ground where there's no VAR, they'll be saying, well, how comes Villa get it and we don't?
But because they can't do it. Then there's plenty of EFL clubs like Burton and Macclesfield that are not able to do it. If they're not able to do it and they haven't got the money to do it, both teams accept that going onto the pitch. The bottom line is VAR was brought in to try and stop decisions like this. And if that's offside and Newcastle are knocked out the FA Cup because of an offside decision, that's wrong.
It's going to be a big debate, particularly if Newcastle United go out. Scott Minto, we'll be back with you and Joe Shedden very, very shortly at Villa Park. A reminder, you can listen to the conclusion of round 4 of the Formula E World Championship over on TalkSport 2 right now from Jeddah. And following that from 7 p.m, it's live PGA Tour action from the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at Spyglass Hill. But Aston Villa 1 at Newcastle 0 at the break. The second half, with Villa a man down, is coming straight after this.
FA Cup Live on TalkSport with McDonald's. The Big Arch is here to stay at McDonald's with its very own delicious sauce. Available from 11 a.m, subject to availability, price and participation may vary.
We're into the thick of the season now, and so's Coral's Reward Shaker, with even bigger rewards and offers. The half and half scarfers, shaking decisively for once. They backed a super boost. Next to them, the Prawn Sandwich Brigade. Oh, they've shaken up a free bet after that free lunch. Play Coral's free reward shaker to win bigger guaranteed daily rewards and offers this season. Coral, we're here for it.
18 plus UK max 1 reward or offer per player per day. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Reward restrictions and T's and C's apply. Gambleaware.org.